It was March Wove, Arsène Lingy Shirar, a bright Monday in Orlando. Families poured through the gates of SeaWorld Orlando, their children tugging at their hands, eager for the afternoon's big event. The park had been buzzing since morning, but by 10 p.m., all eyes were fixed on the Shamu Stadium, where the Orca show was about to begin. For the audience, it was just another performance in the long line of marine spectacles. No, for Jessica Radcliffe, a senior trainer with more than a decade of experience, it was a day like many others, a chance to showcase the powerful bond between humans and orcas. But behind the polished smiles and rehearsed routines, there always lurked the risk that nature might suddenly remind everyone who truly held the power. Jessica had always been described as fearless. Her colleagues often spoke of her calm energy, her ability to handle enormous predators with nothing but gestures, voice, and trust. She had dedicated her life to working with Tilikum, a massive orca weighing more than 6 tons, as well as the younger orcas who performed alongside him. For her, training was not a job but a calling. The orcas weren't just animals in tanks. They were partners, companions, even friends. She believed they understood her voice, her movements, her spirit. That afternoon, Jessica was assigned to lead the final segment of the Dine with Shamu Showcase. The stadium was filled with hundreds of spectators, tourists from across the country, school groups, and families seeking a thrill. As the announceress voice echoed across the stands, the crowd roared with excitement. Music swelled, lights shimmered across the pool, and 2 orcas glided effortlessly through the water, their black and white bodies cutting through the blue like arrows. Jessica appeared at the platform's edge, waving at the cheering audience. She looked relaxed, even radiant, as though the stage was where she belonged. Behind her, Kate, another senior trainer, prepared to coordinate cues from the side. The show began smoothly. Orcas leapt into the air, water sprayed high into the stands, and children squealed as waves splashed over their ponchos. Jessica moved gracefully, calling the animals by name, rewarding them with fish, her whistle, and affectionate touches. To the crowd, it was magic. To Jessica, it was discipline, trust, and a careful dance built on years of training. But then came the moment that would alter everything. Jessica crouched low, calling Tilikum to her side. The enormous orca, with his towering dorsal fin and shadowy bulk, glided silently to the surface. She reached down, patting his sleek head, speaking softly. The audience saw only beauty, the gentle connection between trainer and animal. Then, without warning, Tilikum's behavior shifted. Witnesses later recalled that his movements became sharper, more forceful. Jessica leaned closer, preparing for a routine interaction, but in a flash, he lunged upward. The water exploded. The orca's jaws clamped around Jessica, pulling her violently into the pool. Gasps rippled through the audience. At first, some thought it was part of the act. But as seconds stretched into terrifying minutes, it became clear this was no trick. Call emergency services. Kate's voice cut through the panic as she ran to the pool's edge. Trainers on standby rushed to their stations, whistles blaring, trying desperately to distract the orca. SeaWorld Orlando, Jobite Easter emergency. The operator's voice crackled through the speaker. This is SeaWorld, Ser Erewar va Ser de Shu. Satyr, this is SeaWorld. Jessica S. underwater. She's not coming up. Tilikum's got her. Please hurry. On the other end, dispatchers scrambled into action. Paramedics and rescue teams were dispatched immediately, but inside the stadium, the horror continued. Jessica struggled beneath the surface, trapped in the jaws of the 6-ton predator. Blood clouded the water. Trainers tried to lure Tilikum with food, banging on gates, even signaling other orcas, but he refused to release her. The audience screamed. Parents shielded their children's eyes, some recorded on their phones, capturing the unthinkable. Minutes passed, though to those watching it felt like hours. Jessica resurfaced briefly, gasping, only to be pulled under again. Emergency alarms blared through the stadium. Staff rushed spectators out of the stands, while others tried to drop nets and ropes into the pool. The Orca swam in circles, dragging Jessica with him, ignoring every signal and command. At San Arcer PM, rescue teams burst into the scene, but there was little they could do. Trainers were forbidden from entering the water during such attacks. It was too dangerous. All they could do was try to coax Tilikum into a medical pool, but the massive animal resisted. Jessica's colleagues shouted her name, begging her to hold on, but Tilikum's grip was unrelenting. Witnesses said it was as if he was his tea just playing, but asserting dominance, reminding everyone that he was never truly tame. By the time staff managed to guide him toward the smaller holding pool, Jessica had been underwater far too long. When they finally recovered her, the stadium was eerily silent. The audience had been evacuated, but those who remained, staff, medics, trainers, knew the truth the moment they saw her. At 7:10 p.m., Jessica Radcliffe was pronounced dead. The tragedy shook SeaWorld and a wider world to its core. News outlets exploded with the story within hours, broadcasting shaky videos captured by horrified guests. Social media spread the incident instantly, sparking outrage, grief, and a tidal wave of questions. How could such an experienced trainer lose her life in front of hundreds? Should orcas, intelligent predators of the sea, ever have been kept in captivity to perform? Investigations followed swiftly. OSHA and marine safety boards examined SeaWorld's protocols, questioning the risks trainers faced daily. Former employees came forward revealing past incidents, close calls, and the hidden dangers behind the carefully crafted shows. Jessica's family and friends remembered her not as a victim, but as someone who lived passionately. She had devoted her life to the animals she loved, and even in tragedy, her dedication shone through. For many, her death marked a turning point. Documentaries like Blackfish would later ignite global debates about marine captivity, pushing parks and lawmakers to reconsider the ethics of keeping orcas in tanks. Though her life ended in tragedy, Jessica's story sparked change, forcing the world to confront uncomfortable truths about entertainment built on the backs of wild creatures. The afternoon of March Wove, Artsenlingi Shirar, began as a day of wonder, joy, and family fun. But by 10:10 p.m., it had transformed into one of the darkest moments in SeaWorld's history. It was a sobering reminder that nature, no matter how carefully choreographed, can never be completely controlled. An orca is not a performer, but a predator, immense, intelligent, and unpredictable. Jessica Radcliffe's name is now etched into that history, remembered both for her courage and for the terrible cost of blurring the line between entertainment and the wild. And for those who were there that day, the image of the pool, the water tinted red, Nietzsche Morsi true ticket, the silence of the crowd and the desperate cries of trainers will never fade.